What is up, everybody, and welcome to the House of Holocrons, episode number 78. In this week's podcast, we are going to be going over the last two episodes of The Acolyte. That's right, the season, hopefully only season finale, and of course, talking about all the ups and downs of the entire series now that we've had a chance to really think about the whole thing. We will also be going over a few new drops here in the beginning half, so make sure to hit like and subscribe and comment down below what your favorite part of the Acolyte was as we begin to get into this amazing podcast. So to start off, Black Series TVC lines, nothing really new. Cantina got backed, that's cool. They did not get all of their tiers, sadly. I know a lot of people are a little upset that there will be no Wolfman coming to the Cantina, which again, $500 for something that you could 3D print for like $80, maybe like $50 worth of files, if even. It's pretty bad they didn't meet all the stress goals. I think a lot of that is just bad timing of HasLab. I feel like the Ghost HasLab feels like it wasn't really that long ago, and now already people are now expected to drop $400 to $500, and especially like during a holiday season, probably just wasn't the best time of year to like pop out this next HasLab. But I'm excited that it at least got back for those of you who wanted to get it. So congratulations to you guys, and I look forward to seeing however the hell you're going to display that massive thing. Now, on the other side, though, we have always made a little bit of fun of the Hasbro holograms, statues and figures because they look a little weird. But boy howdy, did someone say hold my beer.
Yeah. Well, so we did get a TVC release this week though, but yeah, it's the Rex figure finally got released. But yeah, we had a couple new releases through the premium figures. The one you referred to is the one that just got announced. The newest, and actually I think second to newest, is they did a hologram Darth Maul,
Which looks like a hologram.
But he's doing the pose from the Phantom Menace when he is in the hologram talking. So you see him he's wearing the full cloak and everything, and he's got his arms crossed.
Yeah.
It fully lights up. It has the actual hologram stand on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's yeah, it's pretty sweet. It's less functional compared to previous ones that we've had in the past.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get like all the extra attachments. Hopefully, it's a little cheaper. I mean, it is unique because they haven't done a full hologram before. But if you wanted an actual hologram,
this is definitely a better way to go.
Best way to get it.
Yeah, those. And they don't even have this iconic Darth Vader or Darth Maul from Episode 1 as one of the new holograms. It's like, it's Osha, Bo-Katan, a lot of people who aren't even normally on bounty pucks. So it was like, I don't understand what you're going for here, but
it's weird. Own. I mean, I don't think any of them got official bounty that they did. I mean, Bo-Katan maybe at one point.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
And Mando, he should have gotten a bounty, but they never. I don't think they ever. No, they did temporarily. I think.
Yeah, true.
No, I think they just used Grogu's bounty. I don't remember. I don't. I know they were hunting him down, but I think it was probably for Grogu. Anyways, so so there's a couple more figures that aren't the hologram. We got the announced roughly the same time as the Scorch from the Bad Batch. I hope this is it goes along with the other clone commander they dropped from the Bad Batch, but I hope we're gonna get the full team. It'd be awesome.
It'd be awesome to get Delta Squad. Cool
thing to see from this is we got LED visor, so the visor does light up blue. He's got all the extensions. The only thing I'm a little disappointed in, because a lot of the clone commandos have, is the vibro knife.
Yeah.
In the wrist. I didn't see attachment for that, but I saw the pistol, the rifle, thermal detonators, which is pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, all the other like extra hands and stuff for different poses.
Yeah, the visor lighting up's pretty nice too. It'd be a nice little in a dark room. It'll look really ominous and cool. I gotta say, I definitely do also hope they do the rest of Delta Squad, because that would be a really fun thing for a lot of people to finally get their hands on.
And then what we got roughly a couple days ago, we got announced that another Praetorian Guard from the Mandalorian, and I don't remember which one it is.
The armor is the
But
same. They just
I
got
think it's
different
the whip
weapons.
one. Yeah, it's yeah. I think that by now they've released all three weapon sets
Hmm.
for them. But we got another Praetorian Guard from the Mandalorian. Probably one of the coolest armors that they've dropped.
Yeah.
It's kind of stylized based on the Legends style, where it's more heavily armored and but the Legends is a little more goofier, big shoulder pads and all. Um, and then one that we didn't get to talk about that dropped uh, since we did our delay, we had two figures that dropped side by side, which is Echo and Fives.
Yeah.
That dropped 2 weeks ago when we didn't do the well not about week and a half ago when we didn't do last week's podcast. So I didn't get to announce it then, so I'm announcing it now. And yeah, seeing that Rex right there, you know that I already pre-ordered them. So
Yeah, those are some really good figures. The 501st, of course, are big sellers. People love the 501st, so that's always good to have going out there. I know with Black Series, the biggest rumor we have at the moment is that we might be getting Commander Bakara soon, which that would be really awesome to finally get a Commander Bakara. Because I think Commander Bakara and his Galactic Marines are such an iconic clone
yeah.
design. They're so different, but obviously clones. So that'd be really good to finally get those guys out on shelves and stuff too soon.
Especially just getting a Galactic Marine would be amazing to have.
Yeah, that'd be so much fun to finally have one of those.
Then wasn't on the screen long enough, but most people are more familiar with them with Battlefront 2. So.
Yes, the Battlefront 2 from the early 2000s, not the most recent one. When you were a heavy class, you always had your Galactic Marine with this big shoulder automatic cannon that was really awesome.
And then the Echoes and Fives, they're really similar.
Yeah.
They have them the differences. I mean, they do come with a lot of cool things. Like Echo does come with an RPG launcher. No, Fives does. Sorry, I got them mixed up already. And they both come with data pads, which is cool. I haven't seen one come with a data pad before, so that's
Yeah.
unique. They have different blasters, and Echo comes with a special backpack. And then he also has an optional the visor. I can't think of what it's called.
His helmet?
No, it's the
Or just
attachment.
okay.
It's the
Rangefinder?
range. No, not the rangefinder. It's the other. They already come with rangefinder. It's the binos, the belted binos.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I mean, then there's a couple of sideshow. I don't have all of the announcements because they don't announce them as easier.
Right.
They did drop a couple. The big one from sideshow is they dropped a new Rex, but this is unlike Hot Toys. This is a statue. It's not posable. The cool thing is he's got this epic pose where he's jumping from a flaming droid and a jetpack, and the fire does have built-in LED light, so it does glow. I it's a cool epic pose, but I kind of prefer the Hot Toys a little bit better. And then they also made an announcement where they're doing a collaboration with an art collaboration with a Jason Edmiston for Boba Fett the Bounty. They don't say much about it. You just got RSVP for it. I don't know. It's pretty ominous, but
Yeah.
probably gonna be pretty sweet.
That's cool. Yeah, there's not.
And
We're kind of in this weird lull area right now where we're still getting collectibles, we're still getting things like that, but of course now that the Acolyte is over and we still have no idea besides maybe ish Christmas time for Skeleton Crew, not much else to really put off of right now. But
yeah, a lot of the figures are still getting residuals from the episode 1 release anniversary, and then Bad Batch. You can tell is already getting some residuals from their release. So I suspect we'll get more. Like we'll probably get some Hot Toys announcements now that the show's been out, probably within the next couple months. For the Acolyte. Downside is with Hot Toys, it usually takes about a year. So a lot of the figures actually are about to release now that were announced last year, like the Ahsoka Thrawn,
Yeah.
um, the Moff Gideon Mandalorian armor, stuff like that. Those are coming out, I believe, this coming week. So, but those were announced last year. Those are that's coming out. People are actually going to start getting them in person that
Hmm.
weren't that don't have the kind of the special privileges as a YouTuber that gets them early.
Yeah.
I'd love to be a Hot Toys YouTuber. Just to send me those statues early.
To get those early would be absolutely
I don't have enough room
ridiculous.
to do that. That's the problem. I
Right,
don't know how
exactly.
people do them. I guess they get those big rooms and they usually have those displays because yeah, I have 3 figures coming and I have no idea where I'm gonna put them.
That's how I feel with the wave of the Acolyte figures coming out in now October, which don't know how Walmart got their hands on a few cases. We've seen them on
Yeah,
shelves if you look around on the internet, but then they're also not on shelves. If you look online, they're not supposed to be out till about the beginning of October. So it's just it's the normal debacles when we're getting all the shipping stuff. Hasbro says one thing, Target exclusives are a different thing, Walmart has a different thing, and they're not communicating with each other whatsoever. So if it's the hardest part of being a collector, aside from what it does to your wallet, is just not knowing when everything's supposed to be dropping, and they just push them back
yeah.
randomly. They'll move the dates around.
I mean, Walmart's always been annoying about it
Mm-hmm.
because they they're supposed to have them in stock, and then you'll get like 5 months later they'll just randomly show up, and then they'll be gone depending on what your Walmart is.
Yeah,
I mean, I've heard of Walmarts that are stock them like they're supposed to, but then they're the magical Walmarts that don't exist. I guess I
yeah.
don't know.
Not between here.
Maybe you that are watching has a better Walmart
Yeah. Hey,
than
if you got a better
us.
Walmart, don't tell anyone about it because then it won't be a good Walmart. If you keep telling
That's
everyone about your awesome Walmart, it's no longer going to be awesome. They're going to scalp and buy everything up.
that's a bit better luck with the Target when it comes to
Yeah.
the Black Series. They usually stock them right away.
Mm-hmm.
Walmart usually just keeps the figures that the Landos that have never disappeared.
Ever. Never. Oh my god, this most recent wave with the Empire Strikes Back Vader, Mines of Mandalorian, and like there's Fennec Shan TVC still on the peg. Like, there's
Yeah.
so many peg warmers, and they just won't mark them down. They won't move
Well,
them.
the problem is mine now has the. It's the second release of the large Mandalorian guy, the one the blue armor.
Paz Vizsla.
Is it? Yeah, yeah. He his figure costs more than normal, but they got a bunch in, and so it's taking up all the room. Nobody's gonna buy him because they cost more than your standard Black Series because he's
Yeah.
bigger. And so it's been an annoying peg warmer. I already have it, so I'm like, it was funny. It was annoying because the getting it the first time was hard. I could never find it, and now he's at least
Everywhere.
here. He's all over the place.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. We're getting so many re-releases, getting some re-releases and stuff. So, but that's pretty much collector talk because we got a lot to start covering with these last 2 episodes of the Acolyte. So, if you haven't watched them, go do so, then come back because it's gonna be crazy because a lot happens. Now, people might say not a lot happens in episode 7, and yes, episode 7 is the next
Yeah,
flashback episode where we get a lot more of the perspective, this time more from the Jedi side of thing and what the Jedi were
yeah.
doing there, why they were there, what caused the, crazy kickoff that would be the end of May and Osha's entire family. And it was a very revealing episode. I would not entirely say I don't completely agree with people who say it should have just been attached to episode 3 and it shouldn't have been there at all. Like, it's a part of a mystery. Again,
Yeah,
we're not
I
supposed to have like all the information.
think
It's supposed
I
to be
think they
pieced
could
out.
have trimmed some of it down, that way, and not. So my argument with this is we could have gotten more from either the previous episode or more for the finale,
Mm-hmm.
to build up for the finale. And the reason why I say this is because they do reuse some footage from the previous episode where it's just a different perspective, but it's basically watching the same thing. So I think they could have trimmed some of that down where it's not giving us actually anything new. But is that a complaint? No. I just think it would have been nice to get more because it's like, yeah, I want the answers, but I also want the finale as well. So
That's
Because
the
the
biggest.
finale is, without
Truly,
stepping too much into that, was a pretty good episode.
it was an amazing episode. I loved the finale. It wrapped up things really well. But the biggest thing with all of this to me is the fact that all of these episodes needed to be longer. This weird 35 minutes is not it. I don't know who
It's
is making this
yeah,
point.
it's the shortest I think we've ever gotten in a show.
Yeah,
And
because
it's the
again,
second most spent.
the biggest issue that I think the Acolyte suffers from everything that I have seen on these websites, on Discords, on servers, has always been, well, there wasn't enough plot or there wasn't enough dialogue between characters, and that's because they only get what 32 minutes per episode. It was a 45-minute episode, but like 15 minutes of that is credits.
Yeah, no, you don't get the full because you get also because the first 5 minutes or so is like rehashing what happened before. It's the whole anime type deal where you get to read what happened last episode, intro, credits, everything. So by the end of it, it's like less than 30, but except the final was a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not. You don't get enough there for what they're trying to portray.
Yeah.
So you do feel cheated, or you do get that half plot. So when we do get episodes that are the full flashbacks,
Yeah.
you do feel cheated. It's sad to say, or the transition episode with them walking through the forest. It's like the entire episode. It's like you get more out of watching Bad Batch or the Clone Wars at that point.
Those serial shows that have a plot within the episode, not the overall almost. But I feel like one of the big things too with episode 7 is just that there was a lot of reused, but really the biggest thing from episode 7 there's 3 major moments. We find out that Soul is like seeing what he wants to see, because those girls do not look like they're really in that much danger. He just wants them to be in danger because he's oddly immediately attached to Osha, like immediately.
Yeah, and we spoke about this when we talked about the episode. It is very odd to how quickly and we will talk about the next episode where another character attaches it. And I wonder if there's something else, or just I hope it's not just bad writing. I want to hope something's there. But yeah, he does. It's very strange how quickly he throws away everything just to save Ocean.
Yeah.
He doesn't really care about May either. That's the funny
right,
part.
yeah, almost not at all. But then Indara being this amazing, like, actual Jedi. The only Jedi in episode 7 is poor Kelnaka, who did nothing wrong and got used like a ragdoll. And then Indara, who was trying so hard to tell Soul, you are being led by your emotions. 100%. Because it pretty much just opens up with them just collecting grass and trying to study the virgins of the force that's on Brindok and figure out why this desolate planet is now full of life. And they do drop a really cool reference to the Hetzal, or the Great Hyperspace Disaster from the High Republic books. So if you don't know what that is, more or less, the Nihil crash a ship into another ship in the middle of hyperspace, and it then throws pieces of that ship through hyperspace, and it causes a massive disaster. It like wrecks and wreaks havoc on hyperspace itself for a little bit. And a lot of people have kind of always thought that hyperspace and the Force kind of reside in this like symbiotic, like weird same plane of existence. I mean, even Vernestra has issues with hyperspace travel, where we find out again in this episode, like, you know, when she's going through hyperspace, she sees stuff. She has these visions, and the Force is like amplified to her. So, but there's this big problem. There's now a virgins on Brindok. A lifeless planet is full of life. What's going on? Well, Torben, oh my gosh. I don't think it was bad, but I think, again, it was another thing where it was like, this just seems... Like, how long has he been a Padawan that this dude is so bored with just doing field work? I know field work isn't cool, but Coruscant can't be that much cooler. Like, what was Torben doing on Coruscant that he needed to get back to so badly, besides reading and, like, training with maybe a few friends?
I'll say that it is odd because it's weird, because in this, with the High Republic, they have a lot of Jedi, which we see that station in other planets. But I get the kind of vibe from the other Jedi you see a lot, Padawan, especially in the final episode, that guy, where my first thought was like, it does not seem like your typical Jedi. Like,
yeah,
it's just that Jedi do a lot of physical. They don't seem like even Torben doesn't seem super physically fit. Like it's like they just take in anybody that has any Force connection. I guess in hopes of like kind of an administrative role.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what he was thinking of, and so that could be why. Because he doesn't seem like look of like what we've had in the past, like Ahsoka and Anakin and of apprentices, and like it just doesn't like kind of connect.
And yes,
In
this
a
is, of
way.
course, this is the fall of the Jedi. This is leading into them
Yeah.
being pretty much all the errors of the Jedi are coming to head. And man, were there a lot of errors that Sol and Torben pretty much go through. Because what eventually happens is, as they talk about the girls, Torben wigs out. He's like, "This is it. Oh my gosh, I can go home. All I gotta do is prove that these two girls are virgins of the Force, and I can go home." And he speeds off. And then Indara, for some reason, instead of going after her Padawan herself, sends Sol. And what's going to happen? You can't have Sol, who wants to save the girls, go to stop in Torben, who wants to take the girls. So, like, you have the two people who agree going on a mission to not do the thing that they're totally going to go do. And what happens? They get there, and they just immediately, he's like, "All right, we're here. I can't really stop you." We don't even have that conversation. Again, I'm sure there were so many things that would have been talked about and conversations that would have happened if there was an hour-long episode.
Yeah.
I guarantee you there are plenty of pages and scenes from the Acolyte that were cut due to time restraints.
And I feel like it wasn't necessary. I still don't understand. We have the footage. We have a big budget already. Why shorten them?
Yeah.
If it only hurts you because there's already a lot of holes in dialogue, and it's probably because we're only seeing half the show.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things this show struggles with the most is dialogue. And if it's possibly because some of it is because we're only getting half of the dialogue or half of the plot, that could be a lot of the source of the issues that we're dealing with. And we have some other issues where it's not just that can be fixed with there is some bad dialogue, but it's between only a certain characters typically. So
and it's the same kind of bad
part's,
dialogue that we get in like Phantom Menace. The way
Yeah.
when we say bad dialogue in the Acolyte, we're not saying badly written, badly like we're saying that's a little clunky, that sounded weird. But then again, my most famous quote that I always go back to is when Mark Hamill talks about having to beg George Lucas to not make him say that one line about the Death Star. Well, they probably wouldn't even have the shields big enough to like. In A New Hope, there's like this whole exploit where they first see the Death Star, and Luke goes off on this weird tangent about how they shouldn't have enough of a tractor beam or a high enough security force to really dampen. He just goes off on this weird tangent, and he literally had to beg Lucas to be like, "No one talks like that. Do not put that in the movie."
Yeah, and we do get some of that, and we've had it before. I mean, there's a couple shows where the dialogue's a lot more natural. Um, but those are the more emotional shows. I think
Yeah.
Bad Batch and has a lot, and the Clone Wars, early Clone Wars does have some bad dialogue, especially Anakin. But later on, when they really developed the show, which it goes with the experience of having that long of a show, the dialogue is just it's so natural, so emotional. And this one, there's a lot of conversation between two characters. It's like who talks, who acts like that,
Yeah.
Especially May. A lot of the biggest one I think I have is a May, and some of Soul's lines. They're delivered amazingly well,
Yeah.
but some of the lines just don't feel natural.
Yeah.
And I guess I don't know if it's some inexperience with the writers, but I mean it's not the first time, like you said, we've seen that. We have some weird dialogue with the actual movies. With other series, Mandalorian has a few.
Yeah.
So it's not new to Star Wars, but it's just I think a big portion of it is one, it's a completely new Star Wars.
Yeah. Yeah.
And two, we're it's so short, so it doesn't give us enough time to really establish and like It's like once you start getting in, like fully developed or fully into the show, it's over. It's like,
And that's the thing is like, yeah, hey, if Acolyte had 8 seasons
yeah,
and we knew it was going to carry on for 8 seasons, yeah, 35-minute episodes would make sense. They could have dragged it out a lot longer. But because this is a one
or
and
more
done,
episodes.
yeah, or more episodes. Again, why 8 and why under an hour? It just does not make any sense. I don't know who thought that was the good idea, but they need kicked in the shin.
It's the shortest, like per hour of footage we've gotten out of any of the shows that we've gotten, and just not counting like Tales of
Mm,
and it's the second most expensive show.
yeah.
So it's like it's. I think the biggest line I saw some of the critics, the larger critics, is where'd the money go? Like,
Mm,
if it is 180 million, some people were speculating that it is common for some of these studios to embellish by adding some marketing budgets and
oh
stuff like
yeah.
that to make it seem like they put a lot into the show, so it kind of helps the hype up. But that is a genuine question. It doesn't feel like $180 million show.
Little do you
Not
know, what they did is they actually built that entire mountain thing that the
yeah.
witch's coven was. It wasn't a set. They built the whole mountain. That's all.
They had a lot of physical sets.
Yes, and they were beautiful. They were the costuming and the sets were great.
Which was Andor's excuse for the money,
Hmm.
but I just like the set design compared to the two shows. I just still don't see it because it's like Coruscant and both shows are like night and day,
Hmm.
and then because it's like you don't really get to see Coruscant, you just get to see inside the Jedi Temple and just like still shots. So it's like that's not really money spent on Coruscant, and so then the rest of them are either in a forest or in this compound, and you don't see like the scenes are so much smaller. I think we only get one town shot with like aliens and stuff,
Yeah.
and then yeah, it's just like I was hoping for more of that because the whole big thing of the High Republic is because the Empire doesn't exist. There's a lot more aliens that are prevalent,
Right.
and I wanted to see more. We got a bit of it, but not for the budget we should have gotten it for.
Yeah, I'll even admit that like a lot of the Jedi that come with these strike groups or with these like survey groups, we had a Wookiee, we had a Keldor, and then humans. Jackie, of course, is not a human, but she's
Yeah,
so
but
humanoid. It's just
human
makeup.
like, yeah.
Yeah, we didn't really get any like grandiose, crazy aliens. Not even from the Council. Nothing.
I honestly feel like they
We got one
shouldn't have.
Cellcath in the background of a few shots.
Well, and Jackie too almost feels cheated because she's like half human,
Yeah.
and so they like humanized her alien race. I think they should have just done the full alien. Let her do the prosthetics.
Mm-hmm.
It's like she's not a feminist enough actor that it's okay to hide her features. I mean, she's done some big roles, but not like say like at Brad Pitt or something where you
Right.
definitely want to show Brad Pitt like, hey, come watch the show. We got Brad Pitt type thing. So I think it would be just a lot cooler to have her. I guess the action stunts this is a lot more involved with action than we've gotten in some of
Mm-hmm.
the shows. So
I will
I
give
mean,
it that. I bet a lot of a lot of it probably went to stunts and
and
choreography.
we've gotten choreography with alien actors
Mm-hmm.
before, but most of those were with stunt doubles, and most of these stunts were actually done by the actors themselves. So I that's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah.
Um,
But more or less, like,
yeah.
it really just comes down to Torben and Sol agree with each other to try and get these girls to study the virgins. They scale a wall. They get in contact with Mother Anastasia and Mother Coral. And we find out May accidentally starts the fire. She didn't really mean to. She meant to burn the book. She didn't mean to drop it. She didn't mean to start the inferno. And then we learn she's like running out, mommy, mommy. And again, because Soul is so attached, he goes, Osha, stop. And it's not even Osha, it's May. He doesn't know.
Yeah.
He thinks it's Osha just because he wants it to be Osha. We find out all this stuff's going on. Mother Anastasia does some pretty cool, like, witchy stuff where she starts to turn into smoke, and so does May. I think she was, like, trying to grab her kids and run kind of thing, or just get out of there, get them to safety, probably. I don't know how they're able to turn to smoke. I don't know if they're connected to Mother Anastasia because of what happens through the Force.
Yeah, we never get to fully see what happens. We only get to see it like start because every time it only happens like twice, and every
Yep.
time it starts, it gets stopped. So it would be cool to know what they were doing. We've never seen anything like it before.
Mm-hmm.
Does it look a little dark sidey-ish?
Yeah.
But
But it doesn't look dark sidey enough for what happens next when Soul sees this happening and plunges his lightsaber immediately into Mother Anaseia's chest. Like,
he
no
seems
thought.
to be under the clear impression that what she finds out before we find out that because he runs it that they're identical to the same person.
Yeah, they're not even twins. They are literally the same.
And so, with that in mind, and then he hears that they're doing a ritual, he is under the strong impression that they are going to sacrifice the girls. So he wants to get them out as soon as possible. Really, just Osha. Even though he only wants May to prove that there's something going on.
And I feel bad for that because, again, why he took May's word as 100% truth when she's like a 10-year-old kid. Because what happens is Mother Anasaia says, we all must walk through fear and we all must make sacrifices for the thread. When they're testing May, May says, Mommy says that we all must walk through fear and we will be sacrificed. Whoa, whoa, whoa. That's not what she said. You're a small child. You misheard that. You're not remembering this correctly.
I'm sorry, May just doesn't have a good track record in the show. But yeah, the one thing I will say, I know we talked about this.
May doesn't have a good track record by the end. May gets fucked like the whole show.
The only thing that is kind of weird, we don't see any evidence why the fire spread so big, because it spreads like crazy after she leaves, so there's no evidence why it should. So that's a little, they could have changed that a bit, because it's a little like, you're kind of breaking that believable barrier with that point. It's a small thing, you can kind of overlook it. It's just kind of like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But we get that at the same time Osha trying to figure out how to escape. And then why May is still running around, why they're getting confronted. Mother Coral, or I think I guess she's
it's Mother Coral. No, it is.
She runs into May and she's like, they're coming to steal your sister and they're gonna take her away. You need to stop her. Go crazy. Get mad.
Exactly.
And then May just like flips the switch and just goes crazy. Starts like breaking stuff and just run around breaking everything in the facility and go straight for the reactor to try to blow it up. It's like why did I don't think that was the intention. It's just so weird. She just like goes into this crazy wild child and just like, I'm gonna destroy and kill everybody.
But eventually, as they do fight after killing it, Mother Anasaia, Mother Coral attacks Soul, realizes she can't win, so she becomes Smoke after saying, like, you shouldn't have brought him here. Torben's like, I've fortified my mind. And they're like, not you. And we see Kelnaka. And so we finally get the scene that we saw in the trailer where Kelnaka being controlled by not only maybe Mother Coral, but a lot of witches, we find out, which is probably why he was so completely controlled so easily. Attacks Torben and Soul. And I mean, it was awesome to see. It was a great fight. It was really well done. I love how Soul does everything he can to not hurt Kelnaka, because he knows, of course, that that's not really him that's doing this. Torben gets his scars from fighting Kelnaka. It's a wild and crazy time.
We get an interesting fight because what you imagine with a Wookiee, like him just powerhousing through everything.
Yep.
We should. I'm hoping the reason, and this is just me throwing a theory in there, that we don't get a full Wookiee battle because he's fighting the urge to hold back.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, a Wookiee Jedi, or just a Jedi that's going crazy, or Wookiee in general, it doesn't really take much for him to literally, and Han Solo wasn't exaggerating about talking about ripping arms from the socket, because he could easily... Because there's a lot of where they're able to block him and stuff. He shouldn't have been able to do that. So I'm hoping. I mean, it's a one of those type of situations where you could see it's him fighting, so he's holding it back.
Yeah.
But it would be, they wanted a fight to drag on, and so to make it realistic, they're not going to do full Wookiee mode because
he would have just.
We know the truth. The full Wookiee versus a kid, because he's still pretty young.
He would have destroyed Torben in a second.
There wouldn't be much of a fight.
Right.
Especially Kelnaka is a full knight at this point, I believe. So
yeah, we're very well trained, very strong Wookiee Jedi. Indara shows up though, is able to take him down, get in his mind, and seems to sever the control that the witches had over him, either making them all pass out or die. We don't know.
Yeah, we get the impression that they're dead.
Yeah, because they all slump over.
Or that, and then they kind of react like they're dead. Where
Hmm.
the other characters, they're pretty
Yeah,
much like, oh, you killed everybody. So it's it is weird, but we don't know much about the connection type thing. So it is strange how like Severing Connection killed like 50 witches.
yeah.
So I'm hoping it's just they passed out and then they die from the fire that May started.
That's what I thought would make the
Um,
most sense. Is yeah, they all just passed out and yeah, they're not. They weren't gonna pick him up. Mother Coral dipped out. We don't even know what happened to Mother Coral. She's never seen again.
yeah, I mean she was stabbed, but I don't. I'd have to look. I think there was a body at the end of the episode, but
Mother Anisea, yes. Mother
yeah.
Coral, the Zabrak, no.
Oh, Coral. No, we never. Yeah, we never saw anything. She just dipped.
She just disappears into the ether. Um, but so that's
Or
pretty
did
much
she?
like that's right. That's the main part of the episode is getting to see that the Jedi kill Mother Anisea. May saw that happen, so May knows that Soul is lying to Osha, and it's again and again we see then Soul gets to them. He's like, "Oh no, the girls." Stops the two things from falling, and then has to choose and chooses Osha and lets May fall. Now, again, I will admit, yes, he just fought a Wookiee. He just fought Mother Coral. He's been running around. He's been using the Force. He's tired. I don't. I still have to always play devil's advocate with this, though. Why didn't he just grab the two girls that are
Yeah,
much lighter than the bridge?
that's an argument that I saw a few times. That if he would have just grabbed the girls and just pushed them back or picked them up, because he could have just pushed them both back because
Mm-hmm.
they was stable on the ends of the bridge, or pulled them to him.
Yep.
Like he didn't have to just levitate them. He could have just thrown them back, pulled them to him, or something, and he could have saved them both.
But he's obviously
Yeah,
out of
it's
balance. He's not him. He's not his full self because he's so, for some reason, attached and fearful of Osha dying or something. Like, again, and like you said, we don't know why he was just. Like he was
yeah.
100% for Osha right out of the gate.
The real reason they wanted that epic moment where how he saved one and let the other one die. Um, but it wasn't the best way to deliver that idea because it could have easily been solved. And that's the other downside with like video games with
Mm-hmm.
the representation of the Jedi and other sources. It's like, why isn't this Jedi using his force to run really fast? Why isn't he using it to heal himself?
Yeah.
So you get or jump really high all the time. So it's like you watch these shows and you're like, I've seen Jedi's do these credible acts, but they don't do it in the show.
Right.
Um, and I get it, though. Sometimes it'd be cool just to like, hey, just go wild with the Jedi. Let them do this stuff, you know. But yeah, we get this weird deal where he picks, and then he picks Osha, of course, because for some reason he is obsessed with Osha.
Yeah.
And then I mentioned my theory to you because we see another person get really easily attached to Osha.
Yeah. It's like she has some
Um,
weird, super
my only
attractive
guess
force
is,
power.
yeah, because she was created by the Force. Maybe she just radiates maybe Force energy around her
Mm-hmm.
that makes things want to congregate closer to her. So she maybe makes friends a lot easier.
I
She
mean,
just
and
kind of
honestly, now that you
exudes
say
this
that,
aura that like
yeah.
brings people to her.
Now that you say that, I even think back to the original episode 3. Remember, those butterflies were all around her too,
I
under that
think
tree.
of even the other Jedi's. What's her name?
Oh,
Got pretty
Yord
close to
and
her.
yeah, Jackie. Jackie was like almost
Jackie
flirting
did
with
as
her.
well. Jackie first was like anti against her, but she flip switched pretty quickly as well.
Yeah.
Yord kind of did. I mean, we can't tell. He's an awkward guy,
Yeah.
which is cool. A lot of Jedi should honestly be more like that because they were like that. A lot of them were like
Yes.
they don't know how to react emotionally because they're told to close off their emotions.
Right.
Um,
But it was a
so
it
yeah,
was it was a fun way to show a few different things. But man, it would have been cooler if there was like a few more episodes. Again, longer, more episodes. That's gonna be the theme. That's gonna be the title of
yeah.
this podcast. Longer and more episodes.
If they do get away with season 2, which I know we're in the middle of the podcast, recent interviews say that right now season 2 doesn't look likely,
Yeah.
and for the sole reason of money. They spent a lot of money on this season 1, and not that regardless of what you hear,
Yeah.
the show got a lot of views. They're selling a lot of pre-orders for figures and everything, so there is enough there for Disney to realize it was a decent show.
Yeah.
but they're also looking at what can we spend another $180 million on another Star Wars show again? And they're like, well, we did Mandalorian way cheaper. Why would
Yeah.
why are we doing this? So I think we will definitely get a season 2. I don't think we'll get the season 4 and 5 like Leslie first wanted. But
I can see that.
yeah, we get to the final episode, and just like Leslie says,
oh.
we have nothing that carries. We're closing every storyline. Nothing left the questioning, right?
Right? Hey, every single question you had about May and Osha and their relationship that might be forming with the stranger, they answer that.
Ish.
But the big thing is, after this last episode, the few teasers they put in and the way they ended the finale almost demands a second season.
Which is counteractive what she said was going to happen. We get some big bombs dropped in this episode, which is awesome. But
it was amazing.
Even with this longer episode, there's still... Because one of the things that... Because we had postponed is the second interaction between Osha and the stranger... Chimere. That their conversation is so rushed that it goes from I just don't trust you at all to I'm leaving now to figure this out, and you're coming with me, or you're not coming with me, now you're coming with... It's just, there wasn't enough, like, we build up to this bond that's starting forming, and then all of a sudden, we're just assume that a bond happens out of nowhere when there wasn't one. It's just, it's that missing footage that I feel.
Yes.
It's like 2 episodes, like another episode that we missed. And I would have loved to see it, because every episode we had with Chimere and Osha was solid.
So I'm going to cover the skeleton of the finale, because there's parts within it that make it so amazing, but the skeleton is very simple, and not in a bad way, not at all. Beginning, May breaks away from Sol, and they have a little chase, and they end up back on Brendok. Osha is in a trance.
So with the driving force, she gets in she puts the helmet on, and she sees what she thinks is a premonition of May, and so she knows where May is. Yeah. She wants to stop May from killing Sol.
And there's a moment where we see what happens, where she's doing the thing to Chimere, maybe that her mother was doing, where like his eyes go black. We're like, whoa! So they break out of that, and then they're leaving. They're like, okay, well, we're gonna go find May, and so I'm gonna save Sol, and you're gonna come with me, and blah blah blah. And Chimere's even like, what makes you think I'm a trustworthy person? And she's like, well, you have to if you want to come. And he's like, fine, I'll come. I'm like, what? Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's like, how are you gonna get there? It's my ship. And she's like, but do you know where to go? And he's like,
touche.
She somehow disables the ship, and he can't do anything.
Yeah.
It's just weird.
So then we get to Brendok. There is a big altercation. A great hallway fight scene happens. And the ultimatum happens where finally, eventually, May and Osha meet, and May tells Osha everything. And Osha's like, I don't believe you. Well, May runs, finds Sol. They get into another altercation, and they talk. And he blurts out, yes, I killed your mother, and stuff like that. And Osha overhears, so now she knows, oh my god, you lied to me. So again, we're going to come back to all this. I just want to give the skeleton. After that, Osha will end up doing a thing that we will talk about in a second, and leaves with Chimere to make their little weird force love dyad-y relationship. I don't know. Are they Dark Jedi? Are they Sith? That's still never answered completely. I have no full idea, but I do have a few hints that tell me it's more than likely Sith. So, but to get back to it, it's a good ending. It's a happy ending if you want Osha and Chimere to be together and become Darksiders. Hey, you win. Good job. I loved it. I loved that aspect. But it's these moments in between all of that skeleton that made this episode really cool in those moments.
There's still a little baggage here and there.
Yeah.
Still some plot holes, which I will bring those up at the end, because most of them are near the end.
Yeah.
But where the meat is that matters was there.
Yes. And one of the things is, again, we see Osha from this helmet controlling Chimere, and he's in that other world, but he's able to fight through it and get the helmet off of her. The whole time he's like, no, don't do this. At first, I thought he was talking to Osha. And then we see someone, and I'm starting to think that somebody was way more behind all of the stuff with Mother Anastasia and the cult. And I know everyone wants to go, you're taking all the power away from the Coven. Yes, I don't think if you know who the Sith are in the Rule of Two, they work from the shadows and they control everything around them. But very early on, which surprised the shit out of me, and I was looking for him for the rest of the fucking show, and he doesn't show up at all again. We literally see Darth Plagueis the Wise.
Not the way we were expecting to see him. I'm kind of glad.
I love the way he looks.
He's full Sith mode.
Full Sith. So we see this creepy, disgusting, 3-digit hand, and it pulls over. There's this dark-robed figure, and we see a bit of the top of a face, no nose. It's a very elongated head like moons have. Deep, sunken Sith eyes. Yeah. Very, ugly skin. It's
enough of a moon to recognize it as one, but it doesn't look fully like one because he's so twisted.
And by if what we know of, he's still young-ish, but we don't know. Yeah. Again, we do not. We're going off of a non-canon book, but we see Darth Plagueis the Wise in full fucking Sith mode. I mean, is he still?
He could still be young.
Yeah, is he still the apprentice?
We've seen the dark side where it can morph your appearance so much that it does almost like it ages you.
Yeah, so but that's usually when you're really powerful.
I mean, he could.
That's the thing. That's what I love about this is, so is Tenebris alive and still the master? Maybe. Is Plagueis the apprentice or the master? We don't know. We literally only see him for a second and then nothing else.
And I did because I like to see other perspectives, and I did have somebody, I don't remember who was, sorry not to give them credit, but point out that now it does make sense because we do see Khmer do some force healing early on, and really strong force healing. So they think that's where he learned it from.
Exactly.
Because he was known for healing and other stuff like that.
Yeah,
so,
he could control midichlorians to heal and create light. That was his whole thing. Now, why is he staring and watching after Khmer and Osha? Well, again, if he is the master, then Khmer is his apprentice, and he sent him out to be like, get me these virgins girls, because they're the key. To Plagueis, those two girls, which were one body split into life created through the Force, is the whole thing Plagueis wants. It's the whole thing that he's been striving for pure immortality. Not essence transfer. He wants him to live forever. And so he could very easily be like, I need those girls.
Well, and we don't know how they made her. One thing I wonder if, Mother Anastasia was able to make, because they copied her twice. Mm-hmm. So part of me was wondering if Mother Anastasia made herself again, but actually made two of herself. Because it is possible that's one reason maybe she's so attached to them. Maybe she knows, and she says they're going to take her spot. And at a young age, it doesn't make sense why they would do that. And they're talking about how they don't normally have children in these groups. Mm-hmm. Well, what if it's make an exception if it's literally her? And so that would be something he would definitely want if there's a way to remake yourself.
Because that's his biggest thing, at least from the Legends books, is that he wants to live forever in his own body. He doesn't want to have to put his mind in somebody else's body. But that's never spoken of again. But that's still okay. It was such a great, quick little show to give you so many questions, to be like, oh my god, are the Sith pulling the strings the whole time? And later on, I will talk about, because when Osha confronts Soul and May confronts Soul, when he says, hey, you guys were created life by the Force. You literally see Khmer swallow, his cheeks tense and untense, and then he kind of looks around like he's not trying to make eye contact. He's like, uh-oh. Yeah. They're onto it. They don't need to be onto this.
But this is one of the things they just knock out of the park, because it's annoying when they only give you little bits of information or just show a little bit of a character. But to start a season off, in Star Wars episode, the original movie, New Hope, they do this a lot of times. They do this. One of the things that George Lucas did was sprinkle stuff in. And that's one thing the newer stuff has struggled with, is you don't give all your hand away.
Yeah.
Tip a few things. give enough there for the fans to theorize, to draw them in. We got to know more. We want to know more. But if you give it all in the first season, where do you go from there?
Yeah.
So now that we have, and that's the perfect amount of what they should have done.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I wanted when we came into predictions for the show, is if they're going to add either Tenebris or him into this show, just a little bit, give this ominous look at the last episode, because it's going to push the idea of how things are going to continue as the show goes on. It gives it kind of that attitude, like, this is not what you thought it was. There's more to go, more at it. It's not just this like amateur Sith guy. If he's a Sith at all, there's something bigger going on.
Very dark, and very ominous.
That's how you do it.
Yeah.
They did that with Sidious and New Hope. They did this with other things. It's just it's what you got to do.
I will say the only thing I think they might have changed is, do you think it was better to have the Plagueis scene where it was in the beginning, or should Plagueis have been staring at them when they were staring off into the sunset together at the end?
I think it would have been better at the very end, because it would have just like him showing up in the episode.
Yeah.
Would have just knocked. That's the only thing I think they would have improved it.
Yes.
Because the problem with they did so early is fans of Plagueis are going to do what you did, and I did too. We're going to watch the entire rest of the show. When's he going to show up? When's he going to show up? When's he going to show up? You got to do it at the end.
Yeah.
I'm glad they waited to the last episode. Because they've done this before in some other shows. I can't think of it right away. I mean, they did it with Kylo Ren. Give it right away immediately. And instead of building his character up in the long run, would have just knocked it out of the park at the end, or have Snoke show up later.
Yeah.
Snoke was an awesome character, just got ruined. We're gonna talk about that one.
But Plagueis looked he looked and acted phenomenal.
I'm glad they changed look, to be honest. I like this. We don't get enough of on screen full Sith look.
Right. And because it's one of those things where, does Palpatine look that way because he's evil or because of the Force lightning? Probably a little column A, a little column B. But Plagueis looked sick with the dark side. Like, he has been deep into the dark side and come out stronger because of it. And very, very physically altered. And it was awesome. Like, his hand just looked decrepit and stuff. But it was perfect. I loved it so much. I loved that we got the Sith finally. Now, speaking of dark sidey things, in this moment, which again, great fight scene. Man, do Chimere and Soul have an amazing fight scene. He throws both of his lightsabers around him from the back and then attacks him from the front for a 3-prong attack. And then Soul just goes,
the big moments. Yeah, that was one of the big highlights of that fight. I think that one, and then there was another big highlight, which is when they lock blades. That was the most. We get a lot of blade locking, and it gets boring at some point. So you've just seen it, and this is one of the few times where they did something new.
But they also had like a little bit of the Obi-Wan versus Maul vibe, because Chimera is literally trying to pull Soul's lightsaber into his helmet to turn it off. Typically you see them try to just kind of push thing, but instead he's pulling his blade to him, and it's raining sparks down on him, and it looks amazing. It's an awesome shot. Yeah. Sure. But Soul learns. He's like, no, you're not going to do that again. And he pulls it away, and he's able to cut off the top of his lightsaber. Yeah, he still has his Shoto blade, but that's not important right now. Some of that almost gives me more of a light episode 3 vibe. Yeah. Not as epic. It's hard to... you see Obi-Wan, it's hard to replicate that much. I mean, it is a really long fight, so it's hard to really, and then it's just a build up emotion. But we have a great hallway scene. We have an amazing crouching tiger, hidden dragon moment where they're like slow-mo falling through the sky, attacking. It was fun. It was a great choreography fight. It started really clunky, but it delivered in the end for sure. Yeah, and in the middle of fighting, as eventually Soul again tells everything that's happening. He's disarmed the stranger, but then May disarms him. And she's like, no, I'm not going to kill him. Chimera's like, what the hell? I'm not gonna
Yeah,
kill
well,
him. You're gonna
it's what
answer for what
everybody
you've
else was
done.
thinking too.
They
'Cause it's
switched.
like, yeah,
Like everyone thought when you look at their clothing, now OSHA's wearing black, May's wearing white, and they've switched. May wants to take Soul into justice, to take him in front of the council and in front of the Senate.
which again, she does this a lot. But I'm hoping this has to do with, since they're the same person and they basically kind of share a soul, that they always have to be contradicting each other.
Mm-hmm.
So since OSHA's starting to go this dark path, now May starts thinking rationally.
Yeah,
Because when OSHA's thinking rationally, May's not thinking rationally. So
exactly.
it's the only thing I can think of, because otherwise, it's like, again, like when she decided that she was going to turn herself in, and then she decided not to. She's just like flipping, just completely different person. Like she doesn't know who she is. And yeah, and she just tosses that lightsaber away.
And
It's
it
dumb.
breaks just a little,
Yeah.
which is perfect because OSHA will pick it up after she finds out what Soul did, and we get one of the most powerful scenes from OSHA. The actor behind, she does such a fucking phenomenal job in this scene. Soul is apologizing, and we hear OSHA say, "Shut up. Stop talking." And what happens? He starts choking. OSHA is force choking Soul, and she doesn't give up. She force chokes him to death. The whole time holding his lightsaber, and we get to see his blue crystal start to turn red. Live action Kyber crystal bleeding.
We get this unstable lightsaber as well effect as well, because it is cracked, and I'm hoping when we see this lightsaber ignite more often in the future that we're gonna get this whole unstable blade look that we kind of got with Kylo Ren.
Yeah,
because it's epic. It's awesome to see that.
And not to mention that OSHA is now using the first lightsaber she ever touched and the one that killed her mother. So this is a very full circle thing for her to have this lightsaber now.
Yeah.
After she kills Soul, just completely like grips him to death. He falls over and Chimera tries to comfort her, and she ignites it and points the saber at him, and we watch the blade go from blue as it climbs up and turns into a red blade. That was phenomenal. That was so cool.
I'm pretty sure it's the first on screen that we got to see of a bleeding.
Yes, that is 100% the very first show, movie, live action kind of on screen thing. The only times you've ever had it before then are 2 comic books with Kylo Ren and Vader, and then Jedi Knight, not Jedi Knight.
Video games.
Yeah, Survivor. Jedi Outcast Survivor has it with Dagan Gera. And that's it. So this is the first time we've seen it in actual like Disney film production quality.
It was because it was reignited in the canon, but it was like one of those like Star Wars things that it's like, yeah, that's how red crystals are created, but it was never fully reinforced, and you never see it like fully recognized. So I am glad that we finally got like cemented in. Yeah, that's how they are made. Because a lot of fans, I won't say a lot, some fans knew that, but not everyone knows that, especially if you don't deep dive into this other and everything.
Now, a lot of people were complaining because, like, well, why didn't, if you just pour negative emotion and you have a horrible day, you know, these traumatic moments and that bleeds a crystal, why didn't Anakin's crystal bleed when he was killing the Tusken Raiders? Because he wasn't pouring his energy into the Kyber crystal at all. He wasn't trying to do that. He was trying to kill people, not turn his crystal.
I think it's a mix of perfect like coincidence, or just like so many things had to meet this mark.
And the crystal's like almost, physically touching her hand.
She's almost touching her, yeah, because it's broken. So she's pretty much touching it. So she's literally, and I don't think she is able to control the Force as strong as, or as strong. Like, it's like where Anakin is like, he like uses a water hose with like an attachment where he can control like the different settings. Where I think OSHA, her problem is she doesn't have that attachment. She just pours out the Force.
Yeah, she's a fire hydrant.
When we see her using the Force, because you think about, we go back to as a child, she struggles with Force pushing because she doesn't know how to direct it in one direction.
Yeah,
I think she has a lot of Force connection because of her origin, but she doesn't know how to manipulated a certain way.
Yeah, and it was beautiful. It was a really gorgeous scene. It was really awesome. And this leads to them pretty much joining forces. Osha is going to escape with May. She's like, no, I got to get out of here. And they run. But before all of that, one thing I didn't like this. Everyone called it, and I don't like it. I don't know why it needed to be in there. I don't know why it had to be a thing. Chimera is 100% Vernestra Rose' old Padawan.
Oh, yeah.
She goes on the planet. They sense each other. He's like, oh God, Mom's here. And he puts his helmet on.
Yeah, that was really dumb. My wife called it. She's like, "Yeah, I told you so." Because I was like, "There's a way that slash on his back was from a light whip."
Everyone's
I was like,
but it's a weird swoosh. It's a weird swoosh. That's not how whips work.
And it didn't seem. It seemed very odd that she had a Padawan this late.
Yeah.
She shouldn't need to have a Padawan. It's like
Well,
Yoda
she has
having
right now.
It's still just like with Yoda taking a Padawan in like episode 1, you know,
yeah.
like it just seemed odd, and I don't know.
It did nothing to the story for me. It did.
Yeah,
it did zero.
The only thing I see is if they push on it in season 2, but it doesn't seem like it because she closes everything off, which we'll go into that nonsense. But the other thing that irritated me was that May just gets forgiven for everything because she kind of gives the impression that she didn't do anything wrong. It's like you go back one episode and like a majority of like everything gone wrong was kind of your fault. Like you may not have stabbed your mother in the heart, but the rest of the witches, I kind of want to blame on you. I kind of want to blame everything amplified by you.
Yeah, not a single person in this show is good. None of them. Zero. Which I like. I like that.
Well, I would say Osha, until this episode, probably was the closest we can get to pure good because...
And then she turned.
Yeah, because she sees, like... I mean, she was told, but she knew... She was good enough to realize that she should just leave. And it was kind of pushed.
Right.
They kind of did the same thing to Anakin, in a way. But she was like... She was humble enough to like, it's okay. I can do my own. And she became her own thing. I mean, she's the closest thing to the, I'd say, innocent. And so I think that's her rise to the dark side is so much more satisfying to watch.
And so eventually her and May escape back to the tree. Chimere's there, of course. He pops up. He's like, if I could find you, the Jedi could find you. So what's going on here? And he's like, look, I will train you. And Osha's like, I don't want to do that to you. But May's like, just do what you got to do. Like, I'm not going to stop you again.
I would have loved a quick fight between him and the Jedi before he did that. But
kill a few more of them.
I was like, man, don't leave yet. We got an awesome fight. I want to see more light whip. I want to see this go down.
Yeah, that would have been really awesome to like close it out with them just ending most of them, if not all of them. But then they would have seen the Darksiders. It also works out that they don't ever see them, though. That they still think it's just Osha and May.
I just want to see them fight.
Yes, because the fights are amazing. The fights are so good in this show. Found out that the choreography and like the stunt team are the same ones that did Vader's hallway scene in Rogue One. So like these guys have proven time and time again they can do a fight.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
And one thing, and then we get to the point where they are talking about they got to leave and they can't bring May. I don't fully understand why they can't bring May.
I don't know.
I understand why he doesn't want May to come because he's done with May.
And he's also like, you're a scapegoat now.
Yeah, but they could have just tossed her later. Or the thing that I really wanted, I think would have been much more, because what we get is wiping memory, which we'll get to in a second.
Yeah, but two become one again.
Would be Osha to just full on commit to Darkseid and just stab her sister when they're hugging. It would have been so just awesome, satisfying for my end, because I can't stand May every time she's on screen. And playing Osha is just more, I guess, better for the actress, because when she plays Osha, she's knocking out the park. When she's in May, I don't know if it's a dialogue or what, but God, I can't stand every time she opens her mouth or interrupts somebody from talking and explaining something. But yeah, it would have been so awesome to have the moment where she...
Right, they're hugging, they're crying, they're saying their stupid little thing.
Held her back her entire... Everything she's done, she's held her back from even when later in life, where she's killing Jedi and getting blamed for everything, is her sister's fault for her, besides self killing her mom. So, and it might not have been escalated that much if May wasn't so against her joining, like so much conflict about her leaving.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just her killing her, cutting that part of the life, so she has a new life, and then because of the same person, we'd see this whole point of them merging back to the single person, where it would make Osha this awesome dark side,
way more powerful.
Which would be later that we would get to see from our favorite friend. Would definitely want her then.
It's just you and me and me and you and our friend Steve. Do Steve.
And then we get this third wheel that is probably gonna get taken out. As much, but yeah, it would have been so much cooler. But no, they go for option E, which I would have considered, wiping her memory.
Like this too. Like not even like a hard, like she screams in pain. Like Chimera just goes whoosh, and she just forgets the last 16 years.
It's selective memory. Not even that, because she not only forgets, since like the last memory she has was her leaving the witch compound, but also she doesn't any memory of her sister existing at all goes away.
Yeah.
So it's completely selective.
And if Chimera can do that, why he didn't really need to kill anyone at all then, but I mean, it's good that he did.
He's a Jedi.
You didn't see me.
You forgot everything since you were born.
Right.
And then stab because you don't remember how to fight anymore.
Exactly. So
that was a really awkward and
I'm sure it's one of those things where like, because May was okay with it, she was allowing it to happen, so it was also easier for him, but regardless of writing in or filling the plot holes in myself.
I think they should just kill her. I think
it would have been perfect because again, they're saying they're like, I am you and you are me, we are one, but we are two, blah blah blah. They're saying this whole thing, and May even literally says, "Who taught us that rhyme?" And she's like, "Well, you did." And May's like, "Well, I didn't invent it though." And that's where I begin to think Plagueis has had his fucking long hands in this whole thing.
Let's think of an awesome way for them to, because they're eventually going to have to merge. Yep. For them to merge is when she makes that step. It's like her stepping, because she wanted to do that, commit to being a Jedi, but never really got to do that.
Yeah.
And she was always being held back.
Mm-hmm.
And to just finally cut off all ties and move on with her life. And that would have just been, it's the butterfly leaving the cocoon. It would have been the perfect evil Sith moment for her to make that commitment.
Yeah. But instead, we get Venestra knows that her Padawan's still alive and he's turned to the dark side, so she knows there's a dark Jedi out there, and they find May, whose memory wiped, and they're like, well, I don't know what's going on here. And Osha and Chimera are holding hands on the beach looking at the sunset, getting ready to train. And
speaking of getting attached really quickly, we kind of already saw that. We're kind of getting that same thing again with him.
Yeah, Chimera is in love with this girl or something.
Forces my idea that she does this she just kind of attracts people to her. Because he locks onto her almost as fast as Soul does.
So before I give a few more, quick other examples then, I think in the beginning when Osha was twitching out in the helmet, I think that was Plagueis. I think that was him going like, I'm gonna get in that brain. And it activates her fight or flight, and like you said, she's a fucking fire hydrant that gets opened. So she then is accidentally controlling Chimera, not meaning to. I don't think Chimera was saying no to Osha. I think he was saying no to his master, saying, please don't kill her now. Please don't do this now.
And I don't know if it could also be. We could also be him controlling it, because she's getting a force premonition.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if she's able to, because that's like saying she's able to control someone and do a force premonition. By the way, we later learn a premonition is of herself and not May. But it could be somebody else doing that, not him.
But man, I'll tell you this. You know who really also stole the show for me? Senator Ravencroft or Ravenlaw. That dude. He called the Jedi out on their shit so perfectly. He's like, well, it seems like you're taking me wanting to look into the Jedi affairs as a personal attack. And Vanessa's like, well, yeah, I do. And he's like, well, that's dumb because I just don't think you guys should be trusted this much because what if one of you snaps one day and who's going to stop him?
Yeah.
And
Well,
look what
even
happens.
well, even at this, they have more authority. The only time they get more authority than they do now is in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Because they are made military generals. But at this moment, they are just like immune diplomats, and they can pretty much get away with anything.
Yeah, and a lot of senators didn't like that. They didn't
Yeah.
think that the Jedi should have been that powerful. And
Well,
you know what?
yeah,
I bet if the Jedi had agreed with them, they probably would have lasted longer.
Well, it's this moment of there's been a galaxy peace for a while, and so you get new governors that have not been around since the older governors are like, hey, we need the Jedi because they lived through worse. They've either were old enough to exist during when that happened,
Yeah,
or they're old enough to be told by their parents what happened.
exactly.
So the older ones are like, yeah, we need Jedi. The Jedi are good, but the younger ones are like, ain't nothing going on, and they got too much power. And they can just kill somebody from a distance. Like
that's not
you
cool,
need to
bro.
like, yeah. And
But
he's
then,
like,
man,
but is he wrong? No,
not at
he's
all.
not wrong.
And he's not wrong at all because by the end of it, Vernestra does exactly what he's afraid of, and Vernestra covers up the whole thing. Man, she took a page right out of Yoda's book with the Nameless, and she just throws Soul right under the bus.
Honestly, she's colder than Yoda was, because he didn't dump it on one person like that. That was cold, and that was like one of her best friends too.
And, yeah, one of her best friends, and she's like apologizing over his body. We find out, but then literally goes, "Yeah, Soul did all of this. Soul caused all the problems. Soul was trying to take these children, which led to the fire. Soul killed Mother Anastasia, and then Soul killed himself."
Well, he also killed all the Jedi. She blamed all the Jedi deaths on him as well. She's like,
dude, that was fucked up.
He got so attached with her that
to cover his story.
Yeah, and he got in too deep in the dark side and lost control and killed all the Jedi and everything, and they're all dead because of Soul.
And then that fucking Chancellor guy, the senator, sitting there like, "Told you so."
Yeah. And again, it's always the answer. Who's going to stop you? Well, wait a couple hundred years. There's going to be a boy that's going to be born, and he's going to stop all the Jedi.
Yep, don't worry. He'll take care of all of them. So, again, I think Plagueis had way more involved in this than anyone will know ever, maybe.
I hope.
Hopefully not.
I hope.
I hope too.
I want... They could easily pull so many fans back by just adding Plagueis, and if they do, like we spoke about this before, if they bring him back, I want him to be the puppet master. I want him to, if we do multiple seasons, I want him to steadily get introduced more and more. I want him to start him finding out that he's been behind a lot of things, and a lot of things gonna happen in season 2. He's behind it all.
Yeah.
I don't want to see him on the front fighting. Not yet.
Right.
Save that till the last season when we build up to that epic moment.
Where because eventually he's gonna if Chimera is his apprentice, he kills Chimera and he kills Osha because he eventually gets Palpatine. Like they don't last. But it is cool that they're making this weird little like sect of Darksiders that are gonna like grow in power. But I believe that's entirely just because Plagueis is again like, get that girl trained, make her strong, and I'm going to then dissect her like a toad. Because in the books, he does that to Venomous. He literally, and Osha could pretty much become the substitute for Darth Venomous, where Plagueis is like taking his spleen out, looking at it, puts it back in, kills him, brings it back to life, kills him, brings it back to life, kills him, brings it back to life. Just trying to study the virgins in the Force.
And you think about it, if they do this, and that's the whole reason why that book was written that way. But if they do this on the screen and they reinforce that, and we get in the final scene that he eventually does figure it out and he absorbs her power or something, and then you see him revert back to a young self,
exactly.
So he can go and he walks on Coruscant. That'd be just awesome. He does it in the next scene. He's walking through Coruscant like nothing ever happened, and which should happen anyways.
Yeah.
But it also reinforces the fact when Sidious latches onto Anakin so quickly because he's just doing what his master taught him to do.
Yeah, exactly. And I 100% feel like in this season, if we get a season 2 and they're definitely not doing any more, Plagueis will kill Chimera and Osha. 100%.
Either that or Chimera escapes near death and then starts the Knights of Ren.
You're right. Oh, yeah. We could still get the Knights of Ren from Chimera, guys.
Yeah.
Just because it didn't happen now doesn't mean it's never going to happen. Again, we don't know. This is the part now where it's like, all right, Leslie, you did a really good job of making May and Osha's story kind of wrap up. What's going on with Chimera the Stranger? What the fuck is going on with Plagueis? And then you literally end the whole show with Vernestra going into Yoda's chambers going, we need to talk. I got to tell you something. Are you... Okay, so she's going to tell Yoda the truth? Maybe?
I guess. So I guess she just feels like she needs to tell somebody. And he's already been keeping secrets this long, so might as well tell him.
But again, if we're not getting a season 2, Plagueis was a beautiful necessity to me. And it's not just because I'm a Sith guy. Yoda's, that little scene between Vernestra and Yoda did not need to be in there whatsoever.
It made, because
Well, I should take that back.
we need.
It has a few merits to be like, oh, this is why Yoda doesn't fucking trust anybody.
It helped reinforce the canon of Plagueis because a lot of it was taken from canon, so we only have very little.
Yeah.
And most of it's like excerpts from like books, like not even like books, but like the big wiki books and stuff where they have like all the stuff. Because there's the Plagueis novel is no longer canon, so it is nice that we get more, because it does exist. I mean, you already got, and, you know, him talking about, have you heard of, you know, Plagueis the Wise or whatever, and then talking about, so it does exist. You can't, so it is nice that we get these connections and we start looping this character back into canon, which was cool with like what we did with Mandalorian and some of the other shows where they start bringing stuff back into canon and making it work with what's in universe. And people complain about how Disney does it. I'm glad they do it in small parts like this, because it's a lot cleaner than just, if they just full on Plagueis, nobody would have been happy. It would be cool to say, oh, he's awesome, and then nobody would have been happy with the representation they did it with. And then, but it's cool enough that they admit that they need to have it in the show, or in canon in general. So yeah, it's just nice to happen. Just to get it back, like we've gotten with some of the other stuff. So I'm hoping that was like a Filoni thing, or combined. I'm sure Filoni and her like I'm thinking about adding, you know, maybe Plagueis or something, and he's like, yeah, I just want to see them in like the room together, and they're both fangirling out.
Yeah, and I'll give it to Leslie. Leslie is such an amazing fan. Like, she is definitely a big fan of Star Wars, to want to bring all this stuff to the screen and to do it as good as she did with the time restraints and the things that she had against her. Was the finale perfect? No. Do I ever expect any Star Wars show to be perfect? No, that's stupid. But was it good? Oh yeah, it was awesome. It was such, and now going back and gonna binge the entire show, it's gonna be a lot of fun still.
Yeah, I hope we get another High Republic show. I would like to see the High Republic, if we do another show. I think I would rather have it done as an animation for the next High Republic show. Personally, I just think that there's just so much variety that it'd be hard to get.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to cut that out. But it's just nice to get that variety. That it's going to be so much harder to get on the screen. It's going to be difficult. The aliens, just the variety of Jedis and lightsabers, and just the amount of action. Because one thing we don't get in this show that we get a lot in is just the crazy stuff that the Jedis are able to do. Like, they were able to glide and do a lot more cooler, ride on these like alien beasts and stuff. So just the cool variety, I think, could only be accomplished with an animation.
Yeah, and it would make it a lot cheaper, a lot easier, a lot more accessible, I believe. But man, if I see Plagueis again, he better be live action, because that was gorgeous, and I need more of that guy. So
if we did the animation, I would go back.
Yes, back to like almost the books time period. Exactly. So my biggest takeaway, guys, is it was a great show. It was a really fun time, and please give me season 2 because I need to see what's going on with Plagueis. That was such an amazing reveal. But yeah, because it happened so early on, I literally was just like watching the entire rest of the episode. Like, where is he? Where's he going to show up? What's going on?
Yeah, and as much as you that hate the show, but really like Darth Plagueis, push on for season 2 because that's what you're gonna get.
Yep.
Come on.
But guys, thank you all so much for joining us on this very crazy episode as we go over all the craziness of the Acolyte and how it all finally gets to wrap up. Again, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below, and put in the comment section, do you think there should be a season 2? And if so, what should it be about? So, again, I appreciate everyone who watches the podcast. This is a labor of love for the both of us, and we're going to keep making it anyway, so might as well enjoy it. If there is anything major coming out, we will talk about that in the next podcast. But again, we're not really planning on seeing anything until Skeleton Crew, which is probably going to be around winter time.
Yeah, we're talking about near Christmas release in the last interview, so we're gonna have another drought. Content. So we may deep dive into Sith since it's on the mind. We may start going back into High Republic novels, comics, or something. So expect to see more probably theorizing or just lore discussing of I say Sith would probably be the biggest one right now.
Yeah, don't be surprised if our next podcast is about Plagueis.
It's gonna be some Sith. It's gonna probably be. We probably might do another tier list of tier of a Sith tier list or something cool like that.
That'd be a fun one. Well, guys, thank you all so much for joining us this evening. Have an amazing rest of your weekend and your night. And of course, you should always know that the Force will serve you well.
May the Force be with you.